Hi guys! And girls! I know you're out there on the interwebs. This is Jason, also known as Tabiasobi, and today I am going to go through my top 5 new anime from the 2015-2016 from the 2015-2016 breathe slowly anime season. So, when I say new anime, I am talking about anime that debuted this season. Okay, so where was I? That was my niece. Wanted to FaceTime, show me a scene of her hanging around as Link in Twilight Princess HD while she's spinning around. And she just had to show it to me. So, anyway, yeah. So top 5 new anime from this season that's almost over. But yeah, when I say new anime, I am talking about anime that debuted this season, and it doesn't include anime continuing from the previous season, for example, such as Haikyuu, which is really good. I recommend that one. Or Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans, which is also really good. At least, like, it's one of the best Gundam series in recent memory, and kind of takes out the bad taste from Gundam Juno Reconquista, which I watched from beginning to end. I don't even know why I did, but I did. And I have no idea what Tomino was thinking, but apparently neither did he. So yeah, so it won't include continuing anime, and it also won't include anime from, well, that ran maybe a few seasons before and are coming back, like Akagami no Shirayuki Hime, which is also really good, I think. I normally don't like kind of romance shoujo type shows or manga, but that one's really good. And it also won't include like Assassination Classroom, which came back this season. That one's good too. So yeah, so this is just new anime that debuted this season. So first, let's go to number 5. So number 5, I picked Dimension W. And number 5 is kind of a tricky pick because like I could have just put all sorts of stuff in. It's like my like put whatever you want slot or like for anime. And I was originally thinking of maybe putting Musaigen no Phantom World from KyoAni at number 5 because I'm usually a huge fan of Kyoto Anime Shon shows. And as much as I thought Phantom World was fun, it's like a low stress anime I watched each week. It wasn't quite up to par with past works from the studio. So I decided to go with Dimension W. So Dimension W, the story is based on a future where a 4th dimension was discovered, and apparently this dimension is also a source of unlimited energy, which has led to the creation of fusion reactor type technology that's miniaturized called coils. And so obviously changed the whole world, but at the same time it's also causing issues, and of course you have a big bad company in the background sort of controlling everything, and you have the main protagonist, Kyoma, also known as Knife Batman, and a male tsundere to boot, which I always find kind of funny. I mean, like, it's kind of fine when you have a female tsundere, but male tsundere is kind of comic to me. But yeah, and he is like a total coil hater, and so he uses old technology instead, and he still drives gasoline-powered cars like a Toyota 2000 GT and even a Toyota LFA. So car lovers, yeah, would probably like those scenes. Yeah, and he pretty much runs across this android, Mira, who's like just a delightful character with a really likable personality. And so their personalities kind of clash because Kyoma always kind of gives her like the cold shoulder and stuff, but the relationship between both of them is one of the nice points about the anime. And I also like the subject matter and the action scenes and what have you. So yeah, that one is my pick for number 5. And so it's time to go to number 4. Numero cuatro. What do I have here? Yes! For number 4, I picked Hai to Gensou no Grimgar. Or, what's it in English? I never know the English names. Grimgar of Fantasy and Ash. And so, Grimgar covers a genre that's been, well, portrayed a lot in anime, which is the sort of people stuck in a gaming world type of deal. And like obviously there was a time when this was sort of a pretty new concept, but we've seen a lot of shows that have dealt with it over the years. So I think Dot Hack, and of course there's Sword Art Online, which is the most popular one, and then there's Log Horizon, which I really liked. And so the main difference with this particular show is just how gritty and brutal it is. Like a lot of those shows, like, yeah, of course SAO showed like, you know, deaths and what have you, but the world itself and the combat was kind of stylized. It still felt like a game, whereas in Grimgar, it's almost like they made it real life in terms of, you know, you can't just like stab the orbs and what have you and then they just disappear and turn into cubes and coins. Like they portray it in a way where it's like you're stabbing a real living creature. So, you know, you hear the sounds of the blade penetrating, blah, 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 and, you know, characters talk about feeling bone and what have you. And as someone who has a hard time even killing like a fly, it kind of made me like cringe a little bit, but I think that's one of the reasons I thought it was pretty good too. It's sort of a depiction of what's normally like a fantasized world and making it more realistic. And like the poor team is just thoroughly overmatched, and obviously they have like relationship issues and what have you, as in a lot of anime. But the way they deal with the subject matter I thought was really good, and the storytelling was nice. It's kind of slow paced, but yeah, it's even though it tackles a familiar genre, I thought it did it in a way that was a bit different, and so that's why I really liked it. And yeah, so that's number 4. For number 3, I don't even need to look because I know. Number 3, I picked it's a mouthful. Kono Subarashii Sekai wo Shukufuku. Whoa, I think I said that right. Or Konosuba for short for the Japanese, and in English, which I don't know again, God's blessing on this wonderful world. So yeah, there you go. Kono Subarashii Sekai ni Shukufuku wo. That's what they call it in Japanese. And I really like this show. I know like sometimes comedy shows kind of get short shrift from people from, I wouldn't say anime elitists or what have you, but some people think that, you know, because comedy shows normally don't have the gravity of storytelling that you see in some shows, that they don't get picked as like, you know, in top anime lists and what have you. But I love funny anime. Like shows like Boku Test are like some of my favorites. And so Konosuba, once again, like Grimgar and all those other shows I mentioned, is based on that genre of a, like, you know, regular person getting stuck in a gaming world, except this one is like totally hilarious. And the best way I can describe it is if you combine Sword Art Online with Boku Test, and this is what you get. And like for starters, the characters are just pretty freaking hilarious. Like they're so messed up, and you know, like the protagonist, for example, kind of looks like a Kirito type, but he is just totally like a terrible person. He's, I guess, like he gets called a hikinito, or like a hikikomori, or shut-in like NEET, you know, like never educated, employed, or trained, who plays games and stuff. Anyway, he runs into an issue, which I'm not gonna talk about because it's funnier when you see it yourself, and ends up being transported into the game world with a goddess. And so he may look like Kirito, but he's like totally not strong, and his personality is just rotten. and he has his nice points, of course, but he's just a totally rotten person. And usually I don't like those types of characters, but his is done in a way that's just like hilarious. And so when you look at his team, eventually he scrounges up a team of 4 people, which includes him, the goddess, a mage, and a crusader. And you look at them on paper, especially the 3 companions, they look super elite, and you would think they would just mow down monsters and stuff. But like, each of them are so messed up that despite their incredible classes, they're just totally terrible as a team. And the protagonist, who's supposed to be the weakest of the bunch, ends up being sort of the most dependable one just because he's the smartest. But yeah, and so it's almost like it kind of makes fun of gaming conventions or like the RPG or MMO trope, but it's just like so funny. It's especially the first half of the season is just totally hilarious. And so if you like funny shows, I recommend this one. I mean, you can even tell that the voice actors and actresses are having so much fun doing this show. And so yeah, so if you're looking for something funny this season, this is arguably the funniest show this season. Konosuba. So that's number 3. And for number 2, this is probably going to be a bit controversial, like because my number 2 pick is Erased. Yeah, I know for some people it's probably their number 1 pick of the season, and I wouldn't argue with you about that. You have a pretty good point. So, but yeah, Erased, number 2, or in Japanese, Boku Dake ga Inai Machi, or yeah, like the city where only I'm not around. So that's a horrible transition. But yeah, so I'm sure for a lot of people this is their number 1 pick. I picked it second, and I'll explain my reasons for number 1 later on. But this one's a really good show too. So it involves a protagonist who has the ability to go back in time and sort of like kind of make things right, I guess. But at the beginning, it's just like short time gaps that he can do this, but eventually something happens in the plot, which I'm not going to spoil, because like the plot is one thing you should experience yourself. And so he gains the power to go back in time all the way to his childhood, which he then tries to use as an opportunity to change the future. And so, yeah, and like this show, it's kind of like a mix of a detective show or a mystery show and what have you. And it's also pretty brutal. So if you can't stomach like violence, like blood and all that, and stabbings and what have you, and murder, even child abuse, oh, yeah, so this might not be for you. But if you can stomach shows like, you know, Terraformers or Attack on Titan, then you're fine. You're good to go with this show. But yeah, it's a mystery show. It's kind of hard to talk about because I'm doing so kind of would entail like spoilers. But pretty much the protagonist spends like his time in the show trying to solve a murder, like an unsolved murder from his childhood, and as well as murders like in the present day, and trying to find out who the culprit is. And it becomes like a pretty interesting game of cat and mouse. So, but yeah, I don't know how else to talk about it. It's pretty bad, but it is my number 2, and I know it's number 1 in a lot of people's lists, so I totally recommend that you watch it. If you maybe like a show, like, you know, like mystery shows and what have you, or even a show like Steins Gate, which I know a lot of people like, then I'd recommend this one. So, yeah, and now we go to number 1. And I'm sure some people would probably be able to guess what this one is, because I know it's like top 2 for a lot of people's lists. And so, let me see, what's it? I don't even know what this show would be called in English. But the show pretty much is Shouwa Genroku Rakugo Shinjuu. So, how do I translate that? Like Shouwa is the Shouwa period, you know. But anyway, it's about Rakugo. So Rakugo is sort of like an old storytelling sort of entertainment convention in Japan in the old days. Think of it like old school radio almost, where you have a person on stage telling a story and also playing the roles at the same time. with like one character just doing everything and pretty much just changing their voice and what have you. But you're usually in this like a small theater and people are watching you and you're like, you know, acting it out and stuff. But I really like this show. It's probably too slow paced and kind of esoteric for some other folks, but it's a story about pretty much characters trying to make it big into the Rakugo business, and it starts out like in a more present time, I guess, because I don't think it's present times, but and details like a person picking up like a protege or what have you, and then after that it goes back into the past to sort of deal with the relationship between these two Rakugo geniuses, sort of. And it shows like it's pretty much mostly about relationships and sort of striving to reach a goal, I guess. And I really like it because first, like, I'm really like Rakugo is one of those things that interests me. It's something different. It's obviously a topic that's usually not covered in anime. Like sometimes I'll see it covered in like maybe an episode or two of certain shows, but not like a totally whole dedicated show about it. But I really like this type of storytelling, and the characters are really good, and the portrayal of the relationships between them are really good as well. So yeah, this is like I don't know if that explained it super well, but it's kind of hard to do these things without trying to spoil it. But yeah, this is like my #1 show. The pace, the storytelling pace, like I don't even know any show I could necessarily compare it to. Like maybe Hyogimono or something like that. But the storytelling style kind of reminds me of Barakamon, like the way the story is told and like some of the like animation and voice acting. And I really like that show. That was my like anime of the season for that entire season, including like new and continuing anime and stuff. And so yeah, if you kind of like that type of show, then I recommend you watch this show. Might not be for everybody, but if you do enjoy storytelling and something different, then I would definitely recommend it. So yeah, so that is my top 5 new anime of the season. Maybe I should just do a general list as well with like a continuing anime and returning anime, but that's just gonna be like super long. So yeah, so at number 5, let's go through it again. I got Dimension W. So if you like maybe Darker Than Black or Kekkai Sensen perhaps, yeah, I'd recommend this show. And then number 4, Hai to Gensou no Grimgar. So if you like Sword Art Online, Log Horizon, that kind of stuff, definitely watch this one. Number 3 is Konosuba. And just watch this one. If you like stupid funny shows, I totally recommend this one. And then of course number 2 is Erased. And number 1 is Shouwa Genroku Rakugo Shinjuu. I can't believe I managed to kind of say that halfway decently. So yeah, those are my top 5 picks. Once again, if you have any thoughts, feel free to leave them at the comment section. Once again, this is Jason, also known as Tabiasobi, signing out.